Hello again, emerging cricket fans. Another bumper show this week, but before we do jump into the show, a shout out to our latest patrons. Madhu Murali, EC contributor Tim Brooks, Charlie Burke, and a man you'll hear plenty from today, Paul van Meekeren. Thank you so much for joining the EC movement. From as little as $2 US a month as a patron, you can access bonus content and emerging cricket, and you can have a say on the show's direction. To sign up, log on to Patreon. That's patreon.com/emerging cricket. On today's show, we wrap news from all around the world, and after our snippet last week, we have our full interview with Paul van Meekeren. Plenty to discuss this week. Let's go. Hello and welcome again to the Emerging Cricket Podcast online and on Sport FM in Perth. I'm Daniel Bezic. You'll hear from Tim Cutler and Nick Skinner in a few moments' time when we catch up with Dutch fast bowler Paul van Meekeren. But first, some news around the emerging game this week. And first, New Zealand's Greg Barclay has been elected as the independent ICC chair, beating out Singapore's Imran Khawaja for the role. Barclay has been a director of New Zealand cricket since 2012 and was New Zealand's representative on the board of the ICC. Upon appointment, Barclay stated intentions to grow the game beyond its core markets, committing to working for all 100-plus members. Meanwhile, the ICC has confirmed the introduction of minimum age restrictions for international cricket. Players must be 15 to compete in men's, women's and under-19s international play and will apply across bilateral and ICC events. Member boards can apply for players under 15 to play under exceptional circumstances. The planned quadrangular series between Qatar, Nepal, Uganda and Malaysia has been postponed, with the Qatari government not approving the series due to COVID-19 restrictions. The tournament was originally scheduled to begin on the 14th of December. Staying with Nepal, and 4 members of their planned closed training camp have tested positive for COVID-19. Skipper Gyanendra Malla, Dipendra Singh Airi, Rohit Kumar Paudel and staff member Pradeep Lama were unable to join the team after their positive tests, with Anil Kumar Sar, Lokesh Baum, Bikram Sob, Rit Gautam and Kushal Bertal all included as replacements. To keep up with news from cricket's new world, make sure to follow Emerging Cricket on your favourite social media platform and make sure to visit emergingcricket.com. But for now, sit back and relax. We have our full interview with Dutch fast bowler Paul van Meekeren.
I'm Paul Redley, sports writer for The National in the UAE. You're listening to the Emerging Cricket Podcast.
Well, the hits keep on coming here at the Emerging Cricket Podcast. We've been lucky enough to welcome a number of guests, especially in 2020, and we've got another one this week, boys. A big one indeed, the customary welcome. Ooh. Dutch fast bowler Paul van Meekeren. How are you, Paul?
I'm very good, thank you.
You caused a few waves on social media. Do you want to elaborate on that?
It was just a simple, light-hearted tweet, to be fair. We just, saw a tweet on social media about the T20 World Cup, and I thought, let's pretend the Dutchie was playing in this final and how things can change. And that sort of got very big very quickly. But, it's all good and all very positive. So it went the right way viral, or however you want to call it, instead of sometimes where it can go negative.
Well, it goes that viral that things move quickly in the internet world. It seems that somebody has already updated your Wikipedia page for you. Now, it's not quite the Davy Jacobs level of Wikipedia update. But how do you feel that someone is like that close to the action that's updating your Wikipedia page for you that I'm assuming is not you?
It's definitely not me, because I think I was quite surprised when you just told me. But it's funny. It's funny how cricket is that small back home, where people confuse it with polo or with croquet. But I think in other parts of the world, it just shows how big cricket is and how much people follow cricket or cricketers. But it's pretty insane. And I'm not sure if it's viral or not. That's how some people have described it, so I'm going with it.
So we should probably double check that everyone's actually in on what's happened here, because, you'd probably have to be under a rock if you've missed this, especially in the circles of cricket. But you mentioned that, with the T20 World Cup supposed to be going on at this very time, according to the Wikipedia page, you revealed that you've been working as an UberEats delivery driver to keep yourself going in 2020. A lot of different people have had to pivot and do a number of different things to keep themselves going. For me, it does definitely highlight the precarious situation that associate cricket players are in. And what is a great joy for us as associate cricket fans is obviously a double-edged sword sometimes, where for you guys, you guys aren't quite remunerated properly for all the hard work that you do on the cricket field. So in terms of 2020, you know, how tricky has it been for you yourself and for your Dutch teammates as well?
I think it's been a difficult time for everyone. You know, it's not just us as cricketers. I'm sure there are many people in many different sports who are in a similar situation. But yeah, obviously I got released at the end of 2019 with Somerset, and I just wanted to hopefully use 2020 to sort of earn a new contract at a different county in the UK. But obviously then COVID came along, and, you know, not only through international cricket, but also sort of domestic cricket up in the air. I think it's been fantastic to see some international cricket and obviously domestic cricket being played around the world, which is fantastic. But first, it's been a challenge, and I think I know for a fact, because I've spoken to all the Dutch guys who are involved in the Dutch team at the moment recently. You know, it's been tough times for everyone, and you know, I'm not the only one who's delivering packages or food to sort of pay their bills at the end of the month. I found it very therapeutic work so far. So I just jump in the car and it's literally, I drive 4 or 5 hours and it feels like 2 or 3. I got a app on my phone, so I just listen to some Dutch radio and off I go. I would rather play cricket than do this, but you know, at the same time, I'm enjoying it, and it's a bit of a nice, relaxing therapy. That's how it feels like to me. But yeah, obviously, I'm a cricketer, and I want to play cricket 24/7 and all year round. So you know, this is just a temporary sort of period, and hopefully, the world can get back to normal. I can play cricket again, and you know, not just myself, but all the Dutch guys and the guys who play in Orange. Hopefully, we can go out, express ourselves, and obviously put a few good performance together, not just for us ourselves, but also for associate cricket, and beat some of the bigger teams in the world.
It is still an exciting period for the Dutch guys coming up. I know that you guys were supposed to play in the World Cup this year. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened with everything going on. Now playing in India next year instead of Australia as well. Take us back to qualification and that process in UAE. You guys had a pretty good time of it, a pretty solid squad from top to bottom. You know, you were part of that fast bowling cartel, which was really strong in that particular tournament and actually extracted a lot of bounce and pace through the wickets, even in UAE. Talk us about that qualification campaign, because it looked successful from over here.
I think it was very successful, but I think, like you guys know very well, one bad game can cost you a tournament. I think Scotland obviously showed that, how close they were from maybe not making the World Cup, and they were probably one of the favourites to win the tournament. But obviously we had a very strong squad with Colin Ackerman joining the squad as well, and Tendo being back for us, obviously 2 big players. But I think everyone gelled together nicely. We had a sort of a bit of a rough patch coming into in the tournament with the tri-series we had in Ireland, where some questions were asked. Probably didn't go too well in the prep in Oman performance-wise, but I think we as a team were we knew that we were in a good place, even though the results during those games weren't really there. But the training we did them, we just knew we were in a good place. And I think in that period in Oman, we're just trying maybe too many things as individuals, maybe during games, just tinkering with our game. And then when we got to Dubai, we just went to, you know, what we did best, really stayed with our sort of personal strengths. And that showed through in how we sort of ran through the tournament in a lot of convincing and dominant wins with one little slip up in the group stage.
I'm interested to know too that you guys qualified thinking that you would be playing in Australia, and now the reality is that you guys will actually be in India playing in that tournament. The reason I sort of bring that up is because it looked like the way that the team was set up with Cambo and especially with you as part of that fast bowling group, that it was definitely a team almost built for Australian conditions in a way. I know you got a lot of depth in the spin bowling as well, but you know, the likes of yourself, Glover, Klaas and Van der Hoogten as well. It looked as if you guys were very much set up for Australian conditions. What's it going to be like now pivoting to, say, a subcontinental tournament? Is it any different for you guys preparing for that?
I think, yes, Australia would have probably suited us a bit better. But again, obviously the last T20 World Cup was in India, and we've had plenty of guys who were at that tournament. I think the year before, even though there are not too many guys left of the team, we played in Bangladesh as well. So I think we've got the experience as a team in those conditions. We've been in UAE a lot, which is, again, similar kind of conditions sometimes. But as you saw during the qualifiers, we got sort of some bouncy wickets as well. But yeah, I'm sure Kemba is planning something spectacular, probably to get a good prep in before the World Cup, and probably in an Asian country. But there's a lot of cricket to be played before that. So hopefully we can use those experience, which is hopefully coming up this summer, to take into the World Cup and do our thing in India. And I think, as any cricketer would say, World Cup in India can be a very special experience. So, it has some positives and some negatives, but I think any cricket we can play at level, we're looking forward to as a team.
So you're talking about the team and preparing, and I'm very interested in how, you've had this year basically of just a huge gap in the schedule where there's barely been any cricket played, some domestic stuff. But how does the team as a unit keep your momentum up after storming through the qualifiers and then just having to sort of sit on your heels for a year, basically? How are you keeping the team together as a unit? Are there Zoom training sessions, that sort of stuff? And then related to that, how are you around your deliveries, how are you training and staying in shape for your bowling?
We'll find out when we get playing cricket as a team together how we've gone through it. But I think we are quite lucky that we have a lot of guys in different professional setups, still training and have been playing. So when we get back, we have guys who have a bit of game time under the belt. Some guys will be a bit undercooked. But I think, as an associate cricketer, we sometimes have long spells without any cricket. So I don't think it's necessarily something new for us. And those are some of the adjustments we probably have to make and, get a 2 months prep into like 2 weeks. I mean, that's what we do, when we go on tour, we spend 5 or 6 days prepping and not 2 weeks like the big teams. So I think once we get playing cricket, we sort of dust ourselves off and we get back with some hard training sessions and get the loads up. Personally, it's tough with the gyms closed, not really having an SNC. We've got some SNC programs for the Dutch guys, which has been fantastic, put together, very individual programs. So, at the moment, it's just trying to do some running and do that. And hopefully for myself personally, when the counties start training indoors again, hopefully there are a few opportunities knocking around to do a bit of training with them. So obviously, hopefully I can fight for a contract or earn a contract, but at the same time, just get my overs in and get ready for any Dutch stuff coming up.
You said that people would know with associate cricket there are a lot of gaps in games and, even more so than now and pre-COVID between Cricket World Cup League 2 and qualifying events. But there might be people listening who don't really understand the way that associate cricketers are contracted or not contracted. Can you talk a little bit about, as the leading associate nation, what contract system there is there for the men?
So we've got quite a few guys contracted now at the moment back home, which is fantastic, even though they're quite small contracts and more like a part-time contract. But, it gives guys the opportunity to focus more on their cricket than they probably could have done in the past. But I think we're not there yet. But, that's something obviously we always try and work for. I think, as you can see, I'm logged in as the Dutch Cricket Association. We, as Dutch guys, have come together during this COVID period to sort of form a players' association. And I think, hopefully we can build something for the players back home where we can look after the guys and make sure we can prepare them the best way possible for these big games that we got coming up with the Dutch team. And I think as a DCA, hopefully we can help growing the game as well and promote the game back home.
Well, yeah, for those who are only listening, which is everybody, when you signed into Zoom, you just popped up with Dutch Cricketers Association. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Can you talk a little bit more about that? I know that you mentioned that, what precipitated it, and has it been in consultation with FICA or with perhaps a Scottish association who are also only been recently inaugurated? What happened there?
I think Tim van der Guchten and Peter Saylor tried to sort of get this up and going a few years ago, and then it never really got anywhere because of just personal reasons. And we always talk about something, maybe that sometimes the players need to be represented and have a voice. And there's so many big ones around the world, like in Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, and England. It's time for us to sort of come together as well and see what we can do for Dutch guys. I mean, there's so many guys who study or have a job and then can't focus on cricket, and we're missing out on a lot of talent. And I think as a DCA, we're just trying to help these guys and make sure that the players get what they deserve. And it's about just making sure every voice is heard, and we can help the KNCB in setting out a pathway for Dutch guys to hopefully play cricket professionally.
So you just mentioned that there are some contracts, but sort of more on a almost semi-professional basis for the Dutch players. Is it a retainer or is it a per match sort of situation? And without any matches being played, what support is the KNCB offering players? And, you know, just what have you guys been told, I guess, around the financial side of things?
You know, I don't want to go too deep into it. We just started talking with the KNCB as well. So we had our initial chat. So we're still building a relationship and a partnership that we want to put together. And obviously that's going to be based on trust as well. So we obviously in that process of creating that trust, showing that we have the right intentions, and I got no doubt that we'll get a good partnership going with the KNCB. We've had a lot of help from FICA setting it up. I think without Tom Moffat at FICA, we would have been struggling to get it all up and running. But with their guidance, it's been fantastic. Obviously, I've spoken to the Scottish guys and how and why they started doing it. So it's been exciting times. Regarding the contracts, it's a monthly retainer and some match allowances, but yeah, you have to play your cricket in Holland to sort of qualify for the contracts. That's one of their standards, which is fair enough. We want those guys who are contracted to train all year round in Holland and with the squad. So I don't even know exactly how many contracts they're going around, but I think it's a great setup at the moment. There's a good enough setup at the moment where guys, you know, can focus a bit more on the cricket than studying and then need to pay bills, so they need to drop on the side, and then cricket comes. Now sort of with that monthly retainer they get, they can focus a bit more on the cricket and studies, and then maybe need a smaller drop on the side. But I think this is something we as a DCA are looking into, and as we said, we're just in the starting phase, and you know, we're trying to create that platform where we can then kick off and help guys in the Netherlands, but also some of our members who are outside the Netherlands.
There's been a trend over the years of a lot of Dutch players playing in the English system, and you're an example of that. Now, in recent years, we've seen it be a little bit more difficult for players to be able to commit to a county contract, but also be able to play internationally, and there's a lot of logistical red tape surrounding all of that. I was interested to kind of hear from you just how important, you know, a county contract and county deals are for cricketers like you in developing your game, because as you said before, associate cricketers, you know, games can be quite sporadic internationally, but to have a week in, week out routine for playing, just how important is that for your development and your growth as a cricketer?
I think it's massive. I mean, if you can focus 12 months here on cricket and have that set up with, you know, not just one or two coaches or three coaches for 27 players, now you're talking about 6 or 7 coaches for a group of 24 players, which it was at Somerset. You know, you get a lot more contact time with coaches. On the side, you got the S&C and the physios. So you just sort of committing to cricket, it's easier, and it just that helps with the development. I think the work Ryan Campbell has done back home has been amazing the last few years. I was lucky enough to go home during the summer and play a few inter-squad games, and some of the talent under 17 and under 19 guys coming through, I was very surprised by, because obviously I've been away. I moved out of the Netherlands in 2016, so some of these guys have gone through in the last years, and I got very energetic and very happy to see some of the youngsters coming through in the state and how talented some of the groups coming through are, which was a bit of a surprise, to be honest, but it shows the hard work, you know, Kembo has done, and the people who are doing the youth coaching back home.
Well, as this year's been very different in a lot of ways, but one of the less highlighted changes, I guess, has been the end of the Cotonou agreement, which was basically the trade deal which allowed European players to play as locals in county cricket. And now, on top of that, there's Brexit issues which may affect visas for people coming into the UK. What do you know about how that'll affect your chances or your prospects at getting contracts in England going forward?
I hope you're ready, because this is
Here we go.
Oh, we're ready. Don't worry.
It looks like he's pulled out the manuscript to
no.
The EU law.
Some Van Meekeren manifesto.
I've had this chat a few times, but I haven't really followed the Brexit as much. I just followed it regarding what it could have meant for me on a personal note. I'm lucky enough that because I'm here and I got my pre-settled status, and then this April I got my settled status because I've done 5 years, I can play as a local. So all the guys with a Dutch passport or European passport with a settled status in the UK at the moment can still play as a local, even after the Brexit. So that's a big positive. Obviously, it has closed the doors on maybe some of the Dutch cricketers coming too, like a Bas de Leede, who's been with the MCC Young Cricketers, Philip Buzzeven, the leg spinner, obviously coming through the ranks a little bit, made some noise the last 2 years. That door is pretty much closed on them now at the moment, as far as I know, which is a shame. But we can't control it. So I think that's the way it is. Personally, yes, I can still play as a local, but it's still tough because a lot of teams find it hard to sign someone who's not ECB qualified unless you're overseas, because obviously they will get ECB handouts for playing ECB qualified guys. So I'm trying to get a citizenship so I can get my ECB qualification, but that's not till April 2022 at the moment. And on the side of that, you have to spend so many days inside the UK. And for your settled status, your ECB status, and for your citizenship status, they're all different days. So it ranges from 180 days inside the UK to 210 days inside the UK to, on average, not more than 90 days outside the UK over a 5-year period. Now, in the first few years during October, I would have always gone home for 5 weeks, and the same over Christmas for 2 or 3. So I've spent so many days now overseas that I'm kind of struggling for those 450 days. And I think that's where counties are just not really aware of the whole situation. I think that's one thing. I think a lot of counties, it doesn't really matter now anymore, but in the past, maybe, could have understood the process of citizenship and could have explained that to their players. So, at the moment, I can't really leave the UK just to make sure I spent the days inside the UK. And, any other Dutch stuff, I can go away for. But that might take me past the 450 days that you can spend over 5 years. So I might go past it, but there might be a case of getting dispensations for all the international stuff. But then, you're dealing with a solicitor who's just trying to find the answers for me at the moment. But that's luckily it's someone who's helping via the PCA. So it shows again how crucial a player association is as well.
Well, this is just one small thing that I find quite interesting is the polo thing, right?
It is a common thing.
You said that people often confuse cricket with polo in the Netherlands. And the funny thing is, we spoke to Dougal Bedingfield from Cricket Japan, and apparently they have the same issue. So what I'm quite interested in is, where are people getting this idea about cricket that it's played on horses?
I don't know. It's such a good question. And I'm always like, when people say like croquet, I kind of understand because cricket and croquet sounds quite similar. But then when people throw out, is that the sport they play on horses? And I'm like, but even like, and I'm more surprised because obviously you might not know the polo, the sport, or cricket, the sport, but everyone knows the polo Ralph Lauren sign, a guy on a horse. And then they, that's where I'm always a bit surprised with. But I've given up explaining cricket to Dutch people a long time ago, or trying to properly explain it. I've got like my 20-second little explanation ready to go. But when I was younger and I'm still passionate about cricket, but as a 14 or 15-year-old dude trying to explain cricket, I could talk on for 20 or 30 minutes and people sort of switching off after 2 minutes without realizing it.
So how did you find cricket? Because as you've alluded to, it's not very common for Dutch people to get into it.
Yeah, my dad played cricket. So my dad, as a young guy, started playing football. And that football club in the summertime was a cricket club. So especially in his time, everyone who played football then almost played cricket for the cricket club. Those signs have changed. So we lost that's why I think cricket back home has obviously been in a tough situation the last few years, where a lot of football clubs that are cricket clubs in the winter don't have youth come to the cricket in the summer. Because the football seasons finish so late and start so early, and it's during the summer holidays, then parents go on a holiday to France for 2 weeks with their kids or whatever. So that's one of the many struggles cricket has found in the last few years, that there are not as many kids from the football club joining the cricket club. But I think that's one of many reasons, to be fair.
Yeah, I think I've heard from other people who, in the Netherlands in the 80s, were able to actually watch the BBC and be able to watch cricket on television. And I'm guessing now that that's not a reality anymore.
Well, they started again this year, obviously. There was a bit of cricket on BBC. But I think for myself growing up, I never really watched cricket on TV. When I got a bit older, there were people who were having skyboxes in Holland. So then obviously I saw a bit more cricket. The cricket club might have a skybox so we could watch cricket. But, at home, I was never able to watch cricket unless you found some link online. But obviously that's come along in the last 7 or 8 years only. So myself growing up, never watched cricket. We had 2 cricket videos, like proper old school videotapes that I used to watch a little bit. And then when South Africa beat Australia in that chase I think in Joburg it was, we somehow had those games on a DVD disc. But that's really the cricket I watched live growing up, you know. So when people always ask questions like, who's your inspiration? Who do you look up to? It wasn't actually like any international cricketer. It was like the first team players of my local cricket club, red and white. Because obviously those are the guys I saw playing cricket. I didn't see the Dutch team really play cricket. Those are the guys I saw playing cricket. So, you know, watching a Sunday afternoon, go to the cricket club and, you know, watching them play, I was like, oh, that's what I want to do when I grow up. I want to play for the first team here. And then sort of the Dutch team came into the picture. And then, you know, I was lucky enough to sort of have that opportunity at county cricket.
That's really interesting. The local nature of Dutch cricket is something we've heard quite a bit. Who were your heroes at Rood en Wit?
That's a good question. I think
that was Nick showing off his Dutch there with his little pronunciation, by the way. Just slide that one in.
Did I have to acknowledge that?
Well, someone's got to. Normally you just hear our eyes rolling. You know.
Well done, Nick. Well done. Awesome. It was very impressive, to be fair. No, but I think one of the names that sort of stayed was Diederik Parvliet, because his nickname was Smurf, and I used to watch the Smurfs on TV. So, you know, that
it's funny how some things stick, isn't it?
Yeah, no, exactly. You know, as a little kid, you know, another guy, and he's been quite a big Dutch player, Feiko Kloppenburg, but that's because he was one of my dad's best mates.
Scored a century at the World Cup in 2003, yeah.
No, exactly, yeah. He was the first player to score 100 and took 4 wickets in the same game. And I think there's only one player since who's done it. But yeah, some of these guys, you know, they just stick with you because I watched them playing cricket, and then I later on played a bit of cricket in the second team with them as well. But yeah, that's sort of, you know, the people you looked up to or you knew. But, you know, if that was because they were a cricketer or they were part of the cricket club, I don't really know. But, you know, all these people I still know and sort of, you know, speak to every now and again. And I speak a lot to Feiko because he's part of the DCA. But, you know, those are just the people, yeah, you know, from the cricket club. I'm not sure if they were like idols. I want to be like them when I'm a cricketer. I want to be a batter or a bowler like that person is. I don't think I made that connection when I was younger.
This might sound like an obvious question, but you know, there's a rich, long heritage of cricket in the Netherlands, and the Netherlands have been, for the numbers of players especially, but you know, in the emerging world, very successful. Why is the game not bigger than it is?
Probably at the end of the day, it always comes down to finance, I guess. But it's a tough question. I mean, football and field hockey are obviously the main two sports back home, and they in the recent years gone so long into the summer season, and they start so early as well. Space. We're a small country. We have a lot of people living there. So obviously there's maybe a little bit of lack of space just to have individual cricket fields. I know it's tough. I think every one of those stories that always comes out, if you ask obviously, is that next to every cricket field there's water where the ball goes into, and then we call the slope. I think you guys have maybe heard those stories before. So
yeah,
those football fields that are made sort of can't really expand them and make them into proper cricket fields because you got water going on the side of the fields.
Yeah, why is that?
Good question. Again, I don't think anyone knows the answer to it, but yeah, it seems that there's a lot of water.
I don't mean to be flippant with that question. It's just one of those things that as an outsider, even pre-moving to Hong Kong and whatnot, to see the Dutch always, you know, punching above their weight. It's just an interesting question to get from your point of view. You know, we've spoken to Cambo many times in the past, but you know, he's only a recent arrival. So especially you as a Dutchman growing up in a sporting but cricket family, as well as to perhaps what cricket could have done better, because it's not like the Dutch don't like sport, as you said. You know, football and hockey pretty close to cricket when you're kind of looking at hockey and the skill set needed there. But I guess that season creep is a big thing everywhere, isn't it? And now there's many more things than just cricket to creep into people's time. But I just thought we've got you here, so I thought I'd ask you that question as a Dutch cricketer.
I think there's so many sports up and coming, and I think obviously the way people live nowadays, they don't want to spend 7 hours on the cricket field. And I think the game is obviously not just physical, but also mental, and it's quite a difficult game to get the grasp of. So I think that's some of the stuff around the world people struggle with a little bit because it's obviously technically quite tough. So how do you get it exciting for young kids who don't really know it? I think that's a challenge cricket has in Holland, but also probably some cricket played nations. So there are many challenges regarding cricket, you know, and it's always tough to see it not getting bigger, or, you know, or even shrinking a little bit, or the quality maybe going down a little bit or whatever. That's always tough to see, but I'm sure, you know, there will be a breakthrough at some stage, and we can get cricket sort of a bit more on the map back home.
So I'm going to put you on the spot again. What will that breakthrough be? looking at the future in front of us. You're in the ODI Super League, 13th team, and all things going well, get to host some of cricket's biggest nations. You've got hopefully World Cups coming. You've got the growth of women's cricket and the potential of T20 franchise cricket, amongst other opportunities. Where do you think along those paths will be the Netherlands take up, or at least a game success? I don't want to put it all on the Dutch people to say, you will love this sport, but where do you think cricket's best chance is in the Netherlands?
I think on a youth level, because I always enjoyed coaching, so obviously I'm involved and trying to think, how do you make it attractive for younger kids? I think we just need a sort of a little bit of a breakthrough in like a variant of cricket that's easy to learn and easy to pick up for kids to learn the basics and understandings of the game. And then when you see they're really enjoying the game, then going to the bowling and technical aspects. Maybe it needs to be just a bit of a throw and hit game at the start, and then sort of make it a bit more complicated going on. What obviously be a massive game changer, I think, as well for cricket is the Euro T20 Slam. It was very excited when it got announced. We all knew the challenge it came with, and maybe the uncertainties. So obviously, as a player, we can only dream that happens. But 18 players earning a very good minimum wage. The lower contracts were a very good wage. And then the middle and higher one were like probably a yearly salary for most of our guys. So having 18 guys to play a 6-week tournament or shorter tournament than that, maybe that will definitely be a game changer, not just in Holland, but I guess also in Scotland and Ireland. And if you know that tournament is on every year and 18 guys have the opportunities to play in that tournament, it might keep young talented cricketers who are probably going to be talented footballers and hockeyers just that edge, go like, what, actually I'm a very good hockey player, but playing in that T20 tournament that's going to be in Holland and earn a decent wage is actually just that bit of a motivation to keep playing cricket. So if we can make that Euro Slam happen, and obviously I think it was a 10-year deal when they signed it a couple of years ago. You know how long 10 years can be as a player. Many guys maybe not even play the game for 10 years. So you can have actually proper professional career to have that Euro T20 Slam plus a small part-time KNCB contract that will give you a very nice yearly wage, So if you want to grow the game in Holland, to have that opportunity to have the Euro Slam for sort of the guys who are more, the under 13s, under 12 guys, thinking, well, there's an opportunity for me to play cricket and pick cricket over hockey or football. But then if you start look at for like the 4, 5, 6 years old who never heard of cricket, who've never seen cricket, maybe a slightly easier format of the game where it's sort of where they can just throw the ball and hit the ball, and then slowly get into bowling and more high elbow batting stuff, which is a bit debatable now as well, with guys going 360 and not using the proper old school techniques again. But I think all those players who are the 360 players and the big bashers probably still have that core base of that high elbow that they got taught when they were probably a little bit younger.
Well, that almost sounds like the Milo cricket we have here in Australia. You mentioned cricket losing athletes to other sports. Has there been much effort put into maybe going the other way and trying to convert some talented athletes into cricketers? I know other countries have certainly had success with that, especially in the women's game.
Yeah, I know it's done for other sports. I know obviously it's happened a little bit in the women games. I'm not sure if anything like that has been done back home. Obviously, as a player, you're not involved with that, but it's maybe something we can look into. But I think there's a lot that needs to happen. I'm looking at the moment more what we can do for the guys who are in and around the national squad with the DCA, obviously. And I've got the passion for cricket, and I've always enjoyed coaching and the youth stuff. As you said, the Milo cricket. You got, I think it's KFC Kids or something in South Africa, or you got definitely All Stars here in the UK. And I've attended some of those All Star sessions, part of the community stuff at Somerset. And I've always enjoyed doing it. I think it's a brilliant platform that we should use in Holland. And I think the KNCB has launched a similar initiative called Cricket for Kids. I'm not sure if you guys seen that before, but they've done something similar. I've looked it up myself and thought about it, and I've given my feedback to someone within the KNCB because obviously I'm quite passionate about it and think there's a lot of potential in what they've made. And I've just mentioned to them that I think there's a few things they can do better. I don't know if they've done anything with that feedback or if that's been discussed or just put somewhere to collect dust or think they would use it later. I don't know. I hope not, because obviously I've seen a program like that with my own eyes and see how good it is and how good it can be. And hopefully we can get something going in Holland as well.
And this is one we often ask our guests, but the Olympics, what would that do for cricket, if anything, in the Netherlands? And where does the Olympics sit in terms of Dutch sport and interest in sport in the Netherlands?
I think it would be massive. I know probably a year or 2 years before that, the Olympic Committee helped financing some of the players, the Dutch players, and they got sort of monthly retainers. And then they went off it and only the Olympic sports could qualify for it. So I think if we can get cricket back to the Olympics, it will come with some financial benefits for the Dutch players, which is obviously a massive bonus because you can keep more guys training throughout the year, but also sort of the bit more exposure you can get. It's another big tournament where you probably can compete in. It might be a similar setup where in football you might have to bring a younger team or, an amateur team or whatever. And I think it just gives us an opportunity to sort of show our skills on the biggest event or biggest sport event in the world, basically. So, if we can get to the World Cup, I know the women's game obviously is going to the Commonwealth Games, which is, I don't know why it's only the women and not the men, but that's probably got to do with obviously how cricket works on the international level, and there's probably no gap for the men to join. But it's a bit shame to see that the men are not going. But it's super exciting, I think, for the women's game that obviously goes to the Commonwealth Games. But the Dutch are not a Commonwealth country, so obviously we're not getting that exposure. Our women don't get that exposure, So I would love to see it at an Olympic event. I think a lot of athletes dream about going to the Olympics, even if their sport is not Olympic. They always have the hope that their sport will become Olympic and they will participate in the Olympics. So I'm not different than that. I would love to see cricket at the Olympics, and I would love to sort of play Olympic games myself. But it needs to happen sooner than later, I reckon.
Yeah, well, the hope is that with cricket being WADA approved and that Indian hurdle being overcome, that the possibilities are there for it to happen. But I just have this image of guys in orange in Los Angeles in 2028 bustling in and bowling fast at someone's head. I think it'd be amazing to watch.
I think also with the Olympics, you don't have to send your national team. Why don't you send your A squad? So if England can't send their proper guys, send your Lions, send the India A team. And then, we can compete as a national team and you play against still some high quality players, which is only going to be better for Dutch players experience wise. And, it gives us a chance to win a gold medal.
Yeah, have all the full members playing under 23s team and everyone else play as senior squads. I suppose the only issue, the only other thing to add to that is that all the West Indian teams would be split up into different countries. But
I think that's fun though.
Yeah, you'd think that Barbados and Jamaica would probably go a long way by themselves anyway.
Pretty handy squads anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in T20.
Exactly. I think it would be awesome.
Unfortunately, I think from what the news is that the Olympics want cricket to put at pinnacle is probably pushing too far with established World Cups, but if they're going to be pushing for first teams to be there, but I guess it's how you incorporate as many countries as possible into the pathway. You may not be able to have a huge event to start with, and I know people talk about it being an 8-team event for men's and women's or maybe more, just because of the sheer numbers and the fact that the Olympics are trying to bring costs down. I'm sure bringing in big team sports is not probably high on their agenda unless, the big fish that is India is going to be coming with it and the eyeballs that brings. But yeah, I think it's their challenge is finding that balance for a tournament that's respected enough to be in the Olympics, but also as inclusive as possible. And if it does have different teams in the West Indies, and the West Indies have already said they're behind that 100%. So the West Indies are not the problem. And, we would probably have regional qualification, meaning that we'd have the best Caribbean nation. Look, you never know, Canada or USA or Brazil might get past them. But that's great in itself that we'll see one, maybe a couple there, and the fact it's a different structure, a little bit similar to the Under-19 World Cup that we see the regional winners rather than global qualifiers. The Olympic movement could bring a new perspective to that, where we see teams and players that we may not have seen otherwise. But yeah, I forgot that you're a non-Commonwealth nation, so you don't have
got to change your queen, mate.
Yeah, so for many of us thinking about the impact of the Commonwealth Games, but not having that.
as you said, it's like if you want to talk about growing the game and everyone says, well, these 10-team cricket World Cups, if you want to take that away, why don't you just put us in Olympic Games? And I think that will help the growth of the game. I actually will take probably Olympic Games maybe over 50 over World Cup. I think the way cricket is going, for me, I would love to see the Dutch team do maybe a Kenya or something at the T20 event, and then an Olympic Games. I think I would, if I had to sign for something, I would probably do that, then do well in a T20 World Cup and maybe get the chance to play a 50 over cricket World Cup.
With the Kenya stuff, as long as it's just on the field, the Kenya stuff, 2003, and not everything else off the field, then I'm all for that as well.
No, I agree. Keep it on field. Same with the Dutch.
There are lessons of plenty across our vast cricketing world. I think that
for better or worse.
No, absolutely. But that is an interesting perspective, and I know that we've kind of poked you a bit with the Olympic question, but I know that was a personal answer as opposed to talking for the game. But I guess that just shows that even in an unproven cricketing event that hasn't established itself beyond one games, and let's be honest, it was a bunch of amateurs playing against each other in a fairly ragtag event that didn't even get a gold medal, that they were only awarded silver medals for winning anyway. But it just shows the pull of the Olympics, that we know that the pinnacle of cricket now, even if T20 is the growth vehicle, is still the 50 over World Cup. But to say that you're taking Olympics over that, I think that speaks volumes.
For me personally, obviously the 50 over cricket is a pinnacle, but is it still a pinnacle event if you reduce it to 10 teams? That's a question. But obviously that's a personal view and not a view that maybe the KCB shares, obviously, or the other Dutch guys share. But I think the T20 event, I think that's our strongest format as a team. So, I would love to really do well in there. And again, as I said before, who doesn't want to be a professional sportsman or an athlete in an Olympic Games? I know that's what I want to do.
You mentioned T20. How do you feel about T10 cricket? And as a fast bowler, it's probably going to get an answer we may expect. But what happens if it's T10 in the Olympics?
I'll take it. I've never played T10 before, so they'll be excited. Obviously, I know a few guys who've played in the T10 tournament in Abu Dhabi, and they all seem quite stoked about it. I've played some of the 100 format in club cricket here this summer. Played 2 games, which actually was very enjoyable. It was actually really, really fun. So, maybe if T10 is too short and T20 is too long and the 100 is a format maybe for the Olympics, but we can only tell as soon as the 100 is up and running here in the UK and how that goes. But the 2 games I played at club level I was pleasantly surprised in how much fun I had, and just the speed of the game and stuff. So that was really good.
So I will give you a little bit of time to think about this, Paul, but on the show we ask everyone if you could change one law in cricket, what would it be and why?
I'm not in this world cricket, but in the UK I would love to see the noble rule being changed. Because if you bowl a bouncer in county cricket or in T20 cricket at the professional level, it's 2 runs, and a bouncer is called a no ball, not a wide, which takes, in my opinion, a wicket-taking delivery away, especially in the power play, because sometimes you can only have one guy out in the leg side, and you want to make sure that bumper is high enough. So if he wants to go after and hit it, that's fine. But if he hits it, he's out, and it shouldn't be called a no ball. But that's one thing I've been really stuck up on about the last few years when I figured out that the no ball bouncer was 2 rounds. I think as a bowler internationally, maybe the pitching outside leg with the LBW, or maybe pitching outside leg can stay, but then impact outside off should go. Either or. Maybe both is too many. Either impact outside off or pitching outside leg stump.
So more LBWs and more bounces. That sounds like a fast bowler's answer.
Yeah.
Oh, who would have thought?
Well, at least he's true to the fraternity. The brotherhood is well represented.
Yeah.
You either go for the head or you go for the toes, isn't it?
No, look, we get a lot of answers around man-cad, spirit of cricket, and double plays and stuff. But
I've got a question for you guys.
Yeah.
You know the Tim Payne dismissal that we saw last week or something, where someone just played at the board defensive and just stood there and he chucked the ball on the wicket and it was out?
Yeah.
Isn't that then similar to a man-cat?
It is.
Well, you're talking to 3 guys. Well, I'm a man, and we shouldn't call a man.
Person cad.
I'm a bowler's end run out convert. When Mark Chapman was run out in that Oman T20I,
Oman cad.
Never forget.
Oman cad. I still think the umpires got it wrong with the playing conditions at the time, but that's by the by. I think that one by Tim Payne, the disappointment you saw from the batter was not, oh, you cheated. It was, I'm an idiot for leaving.
It was, that is the dumbest thing I've ever done.
It's like, oh, look, he didn't mean to. He just like left his, like, well, that's like if you bowl a short ball by mistake, should the batter not hit it for 4?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, you got to have your wits about you. You know, some of the conversation around cricket and could the ball be live all the time to allow, a bit like indoor cricket, allow people to steal runs or for run outs at either end at any time. But Tim Payne's making a bit of a habit of that, isn't he? About waiting and waiting. And that one, he did throw the ball as soon as he got it. But I think there was the stumping, was it during the recent series or semi-recent series in Australia where he waited for the batter to kind of overbalance a couple of seconds after he took the ball. That one was the spirit of the game, I think, is to one side. It's whether the laws of the game, whether it's out. So, yeah, I'm fine with it.
No, I think it's out. I thought it was brilliant, but I can see how some people find it a bit similar to a Menket because he wasn't looking to get a run. But, you know, you talked about the Menket, so I thought I would throw this one in.
No, it's good.
Yeah. Generally, people say yes. They'd like to allow it and to drop the sanctimony from some people about it being against the, you know, perceived lack of spirit of the game where, you know, there was a time in cricket when playing the ball to the leg side was deemed ungentlemanly and was frowned upon.
Or bowling overarm.
Yeah.
Bowling overarm, diving for the ball, running, all these things. And the game evolves. And it's not like evolving into a game that people don't care about each other, but that's out. It's like, oh, you know, like, I ran down the wicket and tried to hit it, but, you know, I wasn't trying to score runs. I was just trying to block it, so don't stump me. I think it's look, there are enough things challenging about cricket at the moment and growing and integrity that I think running out at the bowler's end is not where we should be allocating that energy.
Yeah.
You know, we should be allocating that energy to educating players, growing the game and bringing people together in cricket and letting things like that get on from an entertainment factor, but also let the game continue and not under this sort of haze of spirit, which is so subjective.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, isn't it? Like, as soon as you don't let something like that happen, that Payne dismissal last week, you know, where do you eventually draw the line? Like, if someone goes out and starts gardening when the ball's dead and they get run out or something, I think we can all acknowledge that that's...
Well, that's if the ball is live all the time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And we didn't get on here for a debate of going over time, but we're going to do it anyway.
You've opened a can of worms and we've just...
I started something which I should have started.
Well, we spend so much time together, it's like, you know, you just...
We're in our own emerging cricket echo chamber too, where it's actually quite refreshing having someone come on and actually probably ask us the tough questions.
Mate, you've been great.
Paul van Meekeren, it's been great to have you on the Emerging Cricket Podcast. Thank you for joining us on the show and keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, guys. It's been great to be involved with emerging cricket now. So, I'm always here for a chat and hopefully we can get Dutch cricket on the map a bit more.
A huge thank you again to Paul van Meekeren for joining us on the Emerging Cricket Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the EC Pod if you haven't done so already so you can tune in as soon as it drops every week. Pass the pod around and make sure to give us a 5-star review. If you want to support us financially, go to Patreon. That's patreon.com/emerging cricket where you can support us from as little as $2 US a month. You'll get access to extended cuts of a number of our podcasts and you'll have a say on the show's direction. For now, on behalf of Nick Skinner, Tim Cutler and myself, Daniel Beswick, see you next week.